Welcome back, my name is Jaco, this is my workshop. You know the deal. If you're new here, we create content in the jewelry industry, and this is what happens in our workshop, and that's really it. We don't do tutorials necessarily, we just show you our point of view of how we make things. And today I'm setting a lab diamond, a big blue lab diamond. How many carats is it?
I don't know, it looks like
three, maybe three, I don't know. Big, cushion cut, claw setting in 18 karat white gold. The reason I'm putting the diamonds in to start off with on the sides is because if I do that afterwards, there's an access issue. So while the middle stone's out, I'm going to start with the side stones, and that's exactly what I've done. Now I've got the cavity, and basically what I'm trying to do is, if you turn the stone around, now each stone's going to be different. If you turn it around and you look at the belly of the stone, has certain points which go quite deep in. When I'm placing the stone on top of the setting where I want to seat it, I want to make sure that all those points where they touch, the metal gets eliminated, kind of creating the best possible seating area for the stone. So I'm trying to recreate the negative of the belly of the stone, and that's going to make the job of putting the claws over much easier. I'm using ball phrases here. Sometimes when I'm using when I'm working with claw settings, I'd use the lens phrase or the diamond cut shape phrases, but I'm using a ball phrase because it's such a big stone. It allows me to really get free movement with a ball phrase on the inside. Once I've got it down to the point where I feel that it's as low as I need to get it, I look from the side and I look from the other side, from side profile, to make sure that I'm sitting with a parallel to my shank situation on either ends. I don't want the stone to lie askew, and if I press too much on this side or this side, it might tilt the stone. So I want to make sure that as it's seated, as I've carved away the metal on the inside, that the stone lies as flush as possible. So where I see it's going to touch a stone, I'm using a ball phrase. Rather than cutting sideways like this with a lens phrase or a diamond shaped phrase, I'm coming up from the bottom with a small ball phrase where I know the metal is going to make contact with the girdle of the stone. I always go with about 1/3 into the metal thickness. If I'm running it from the bottom to the top, there's none of that risk of it slipping and running around and marring the metal that you have to clean up afterwards. Now I know when I press the stone back in, it's going to be level, and when I start pulling this over, I'm very close, everything's touching, and it's going to give way where I've taken some of the material away. Now it's a slow process of pressing in opposite ends and making sure that those longer wires, and that also kept the wires longer because it gives me more leverage. The longer wires, as I'm pressing from this side to that side and from that side to this side, folds over, and it actually presses down on top of the diamond where I want it to press down. I'm looking at the facets. The facets give away the symmetry of the stone. You'll find that points on the actual facets could point in the direction of the shank, or you can find where your claws come down. You'll find that there's most probably a facet or marking of a facet which you can work towards to make sure that your claws are all symmetrical. Once I've got these claws down on top of it, I'm removing the excess wires with a cutter, and then I'm filing them all down at a right angle of the surface of the stone. Now, the purpose of the filing is down to get the right length. I want to make sure that the length of this claw is the same as that claw, and looking at it from the top and moving it around with the facets again, I can estimate quite an accurate length holding over the stone's corners. I'm filing the top flat, the top of the wire, because I've got them down to a point now. I'm filing these edges on the points flat, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to diminish some of the weight of the wire, so that when I come down from the top, that it will press down on the stone. The stone's already being pinched from the sides. Now I'm going to give it some direction towards the bottom, towards this bed that I've created for it. I'm running this old engraving. It's called a tool engraver. I think you can get that from pretty much any hardware shop. I think Dremel also does them. They last forever, they cost pittance. I flatten the front part of it so that the impact point is flat, and then from there onwards set it on a very low punch, and I start from the one side and move my way around. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for that wire which was round and now flat at the top to seat itself onto the actual stone itself. I'm going around slowly. I'm not expecting this to be a final set just yet. These are all points progressing towards what I'm looking for. So it's a little bit of this, a little bit more of that, a little bit more of that, until the stone is completely set. So at this point, if there's still a bit of movement, I keep repeating that step to make sure that my stone gets to a point where there's absolutely no movement. I'm using my nail and I'm pressing down on top of it to see if there's any movement, which means that if the claw's over here and it presses slightly down, this is the claw that I want to put a little bit more trouble into to get it all the way down to the stone. Of course, we've now distorted the material slightly, so I'll give it another file down. I'm taking away metal from the top and then slightly from the side, because I'm looking for the sort of effect, natural effect of those round claws coming up and folding over the stone. The front parts come down on the stone like that, and this little section over here, between the claw's point and the actual wire itself, I want to flatten that now as well. That's the next step. So I'm flattening the sides and I'm bringing the same engraver. Can we call it a tool engraver? So I've done the top down and now I'm running from the side, and I'm getting the totality of that claw to flatten down on top of the stone itself. I quickly run over the top front part again to make sure that's good. And now obviously all the wires are slightly spread. It's slightly flattened because I've worked from the top with a hammer action tool. I need to start cleaning them up. I start putting the file over 2 at a time to make sure that all of them correspond with the same height. I check it, and from there onwards, it's really just shaping them. And then from there I use a small rubber wheel, which I create a little V or a little U shape into it, straight forward onto the polish. So that's it. You've seen me put the claws down onto this blue stone. It's a time consuming thing if you're starting out, and certainly I'm no master setter, but I get the job done, and I'm quite proud of the way it looks when I send it out. Otherwise I wouldn't send it out. I'll just send it to a setter, wouldn't I?
Yes.
We select certain pieces that come through our workshop on a weekly basis based on the comments that we get. That's exactly what we're going to give you. The ring you're seeing in the video right now that we've just set, if you're wanting to see how we actually manufacture that, make sure to watch our video next week, because that video is going to deal with the entire construction of this 18 karat white gold diamond ring. Thanks so much for watching till the end. It's you guys that make this possible. Lots of love from Damia and myself.
Lots of love, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Next Sunday. Cheers.
Bye.